All right, folks, so welcome aboard here. Sports Talk Nation, Michael Cohen here with you. And yes, obviously we do a lot of Met stuff here on the channel, but we also got to do some Yankee stuff as well. As someone who covers the Yankees Double-A affiliate, the Somerset Patriots for Fox Sports Radio New Jersey, let's talk about those New York Yankees as they get ready for this 2024 season, shall we? It was a disappointing year in 2023 last year for the Yankees as they won only 82 games, a year where they missed the playoffs and were pretty much mediocre throughout the course of the year last year at the Major League level. And a lot of that having to do with the rash of injuries that they suffered throughout the course of this year. Obviously, the big story going into this season is the health of Garrett Cole, and he is going to be the story that we're going to follow throughout the course of this year. But there's going to be other storylines to follow throughout the course of this season, so let's just get right into it. The number 5 storyline going into 2024 has to be the young players for this Yankees team. Let's just start there. The Yankees have brought up a plethora of young talent throughout their system over the last couple of years, whether it be Oswaldo Cabrera, whether it be Oswald Peraza, and of course, more recently, with Anthony Volpe, Austin Wells, and Jason Dominguez, and there's more on the way, such as Clayton Beeter, who is going to most likely make the team this year, probably out of the bullpen, maybe even as a spot starter. And then you also have coming up through the ranks right now, players like Ben Rice and Spencer Jones. So the Yankees are loaded as far as talent coming up through their system in the minor leagues. In fact, this year, we're going to see, at least at the start of the year, on the left side of the infield, a couple of guys who I got to see a lot of in Somerset, in Oswaldo Cabrera, and, of course, Anthony Volpe at third base and shortstop. For Volpe, this is a big year. Had a good year last year, was a Gold Glove Award winner last season, 21 home runs, 60 RBIs last season. Didn't hit too well as far as the average was concerned. You would expect, being a player who has had success at every level, that is going to change, and his numbers are going to continue to go up in 2024. I did have an opportunity to speak briefly with the voice of the Somerset Patriots about Volpe, and that's Stephen Cusumano. Let's take a listen in.
I mean, I'll start by saying it's very exciting for us because a lot of the guys we've seen come through Somerset the last couple years are making direct impacts on the opening day roster. You're going to see guys like Clayton Beeter, who won a championship in Somerset, pitch for the Yankees opening week. Anthony Volpe, of course, we saw him win a Gold Glove. Seeing his camaraderie with Austin Wells, who's now in the big leagues and debuted in September. Just seeing the guys that came up through Somerset. I mean, we saw firsthand how successful they were. They won a championship in 2022, went to the playoffs again last year. These are winning players, and it was very exciting to just see that them integrate themselves into a locker room that includes a Cy Young like Garrett Cole, an MVP like Aaron Judge. So you have all the makings of a team that can do some really special things, of the young players, the spark plugs, you've got the veterans, you've got the MVPs, the guys with the decorated history. So just from our end, it was fun to see all those guys up with the big league team and knowing what they can do and what they're capable of. It makes me very optimistic about the Yankees' chances this year. Certain organizations throughout the years, like you mentioned the Orioles, that have been very generous with giving their minor league players opportunities. And then you start to see the success of those teams. Like, I'll use the Astros as another example. They give their minor leaguers and their prospects a good chance, and it results in World Series. It results in, for the Orioles' case, playoff run for the first time in a long time. So I think you're starting to see other teams, including the Yankees, buy into that, like you said, youth movement and really take a lot of stock into the player development side and how important it is to give those guys chances and see if they're capable of helping them win some games at the big league level.
So Volpe is going to be a big part of the Yankees' success here, obviously, in 2024. And also, let's not forget Austin Wells, who's going to be splitting time at catcher this year with Jose Trevino. Again, Austin Wells is a player who also brings a lot of pop, hits for a pretty good average, around 300. The question's always been about his defensive prowess behind the plate, but one thing that I do know is that a lot of the pitchers who have thrown to him over the last couple of years, really like the way he calls the game. So he is going to be a big part of the Yankees' future behind the plate. So can the young guys continue? And you would expect them to continue to have an impact, develop, and have an impact on this team moving forward, especially in a league that is skewing younger every single year. Just take a look at the team the Yankees have to play in the Baltimore Orioles. The health of the middle of this order. And I know when we talk about health of the Yankees, obviously everyone right now thinks about Garrett Cole, but the health of the middle of the order is going to be key. Because last season, the Yankees had a lot of problems staying healthy there. Aaron Judge had an injury last season. Giancarlo Stanton wasn't healthy last season. DJ LeMahieu wasn't healthy last season, and right now is hurt to start this season. You had, of course, Josh Donaldson and Harrison Bader, who couldn't stay healthy last year for the Yankees. They had a lot of problems with health in their lineup. If they're going to have success this year, especially with Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, they need those two guys to get back to staying healthy and get back to hitting the baseball with authority. Of course, Judge being a player who just a couple of years ago had 62 home runs. No one's expecting him to do that again, but get back to being the player that we know he can be, 40, 50 home runs in that lineup every single day. Giancarlo Stanton lost a lot of weight himself, hit very well in spring training, hit over 300, hit 5 home runs. If the Yankees can get Stanton and Judge healthy and hitting, as we know they're capable of, the Yankees are going to have a middle of the order that nobody is going to want to face. And you also throw Anthony Rizzo in there as well, who had to battle through injuries himself in 2023. All those guys together with our next key factor are going to determine how this season is going to go for the Yankees. And of course, that next key factor is, well, who else but Juan Soto? Juan Soto is really going to be the storyline to watch this year for the Yankees. He is a free agent to be at the end of this season. This is a player who has 160 home runs in his career, and he's only 25 years old. Everyone talks about the contract Shohei Ohtani got from the Dodgers, which was over $700 million. What is this guy going to command on the open market? That's going to be fascinating to watch, especially when he has an opportunity to hit in a bandbox that is Yankee Stadium, especially with that short porch in right field. He could easily hit 50 or more home runs this season for Juan Soto, and I expect him to do so. And if he does that, and he continues to hit at the rate that he is displayed throughout his career in Washington and San Diego, and you have a healthy Judge and a healthy Stanton and a healthy Rizzo, that's a scary lineup as it is on paper. It's even scarier if they're all healthy and hitting well at the same time. That leads to this. Now, look, the Yankees have a lot of good, solid offensive players that can hit the ball out of the ballpark. Maybe the big concern for Yankee fans is sometimes they could be all or nothing. They obviously want to see a little more balance, see the Yankees hit for more average than they have over the last several seasons. That is something that would have to be a concern for Yankee fans going into the season. But it's all about the pitching. The Yankees can score 6 or 7 runs a game. That's fine. If they don't have the pitching, that's a problem. And the pitching is going to be the centerpiece of this season no matter what. So before we even talk about Garrett Cole, it's all about the other guys in that rotation. Nestor Cortes, Carlos Rodon, Marcus Stroman. These guys have to step up big time. And look, Rodon had a bad season last year, dealt with injuries himself, only won 3 games, lost 8. Didn't look like the same guy he was with the San Francisco Giants and Chicago White Sox, respectively, over the previous 2 seasons in 21 and 22. Completely hit the wall last year with the Yankees. Can he get back to being that pitcher that we saw in Chicago? That's going to be key right there. And also Nestor Cortes. Cortes himself, after starting 28 games and winning 12 in 2022, also had to drop off, had to deal with injuries himself. Only made 12 starts last season, had an ERA near 5. Can he get back to being the pitcher we saw 2 years ago and pitch to an ERA around, maybe not necessarily 2.44 that he had in 2022, but around 3? Can the Yankees get that out of Nestor Cortes? If they can get that out of Cortes and something close to what we saw from Carlos Rodon when he was at the White Sox, the Yankees are going to be fine in that rotation. Then, of course, you have Marcus Stroman, who, yes, has great stuff, but sometimes can be a bit of a headache, sometimes as we saw when he was with the New York Mets, as far as clubhouse and media when it comes to that standpoint. Outside of that, he's a very solid pitcher. So the Yankees, if they're going to do anything this year, they need this rotation to be very good, especially in this American League where you have some really tough lineups in Baltimore, Toronto. Tampa Bay still has some pretty good players in their lineup, obviously. Then, of course, you look out west, you see what they got going in Houston and in Texas. Yankees need to have their pitching be at top flight throughout the course of this year. And that, of course, all leads to the number one storyline for the Yankees this year, and that, of course, is Garrett Cole. What is his situation going to be as far as his elbow is concerned? The nerve inflammation is right elbow. It's a scary situation. You never know with elbow injuries. We saw that with Jacob deGrom with the Mets, where the Mets couldn't even diagnose an injury with Jacob deGrom, and he ended up missing the rest of the 2021 season. And when he came back in 2022, late in the year, pitched well, but then it started to fall off at the end of the year. And as we all know, ended up having to get Tommy John surgery last year with Texas. It's very tricky with elbow injuries. The Yankees are hopeful that Cole can avoid Tommy John surgery, and hoping that by resting, as he is right now, and will start throwing in a couple of weeks, and then hoping that to get him back by certainly the end of May going into June, that they can get a pitcher basically almost like a deadline deal in a lot of ways, mid-season deal in a lot of ways to get a top-flight starter, that he can come back, be healthy, and be the pitcher that the Yankees are used to seeing, a Cy Young Award-winning contender year in and year out. They're hoping they can get something close to that with rest from this elbow inflammation issue with Garrett Cole. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. And then, of course, whether Cole comes back healthy or not, what is Brian Cashman going to do at the trade deadline? What's he going to do throughout the course of this year to improve this starting rotation? Yankees had a shot at Jordan Montgomery. He ended up going to the Diamondbacks instead. They also tried to do earlier in the offseason, they tried to make a trade with the Chicago White Sox for Dylan Cease. That didn't work out. Cease ended up getting traded from the White Sox to the San Diego Padres. So we know the Yankees are looking for more pitching. The question is just a matter of when they're going to be able to find that starter at some point down the road. So those are some of the big storylines for this season. If the Yankees are going to get back into the playoff race, and a lot of people think the Yankees are a playoff team this year, again, they need a lot of these things to work out. They need to be healthy, they need their pitching to be great, and they need to find a way to get their starting rotation to pitch. They need their starting rotation to be very good, and that bullpen to be excellent as well here in 2024. Now, I'm going to include a little snippet here of my discussion with John Pielli as we were talking about last week, the key to the Yankees season. Here's a small snippet, and of course, down below in the description box, you'll see a link to the full interview that I had with John Pielli. We'll talk to you next time right here on the Sports Talk Nation. But man, Juan Soto, what kind of potential could he bring to this team? We know what he can do with the power. I think in this ballpark he could easily hit 50 or more home runs. He's going into the free agency year. I can't remember a time where the discussion's been that a player would actually leave the Yankees that's now on the Yankees, especially a player that good. So his story is really going to be fascinating to watch all season.
Absolutely. I mean, first you could just talk about Juan Soto's value to the Yankees. You know, Aaron Judge, really outside of the couple seasons, you know, their rookie season where he hit 52 home runs, and obviously the 62 home run season has been, you know, battling injuries on and off every year he's been in the major leagues.
Yeah.
And what you saw with the Yankees last year was when Judge wasn't in there, they were brutal.
Mm-hmm.
They were a pitiful offensive team. So having a guy like Juan Soto and hopefully, you know, Stanton hitting like we've seen in spring training makes a different outlook if you happen to, let's say, get some bad luck with Aaron Judge and he's going to be out for a week or two. So I think that's the first thing that Juan Soto brings to the Yankees. Obviously, listen, he's one of the best players in baseball. He really does, you know, from an offensive standpoint, he's got almost that Ted Williams type of eye where he won't swing at a pitch that's even like a millimeter off the plate, and he has that bravado that you really want to see out of a New York ball player. But you know, I think it's exciting to see him and Aaron Judge in the same lineup, and I think, you know, really the way that the whole rest of the lineup will and can pick up off of it. They should be able to score a lot of runs this year. Well, when it comes to the Yankees, I really look at them as probably being the team to beat in that division. And I think especially if Garrett Cole is not going to be missing for the majority of the season, you know, getting him back, I mean, at some point, it might even turn out to be like good for him to get that rest. You know, if he's, you know, as long as he's able to pitch the rest of the season and be formidable in the playoffs. But you know, I look at the Orioles. Obviously, they're going to be given a lot of respect coming into this season, but also, they are a little bit green. There's been a little, they rose up, pretty quick. Now they're going to be hunted a little bit. So we'll see how they handle that. I love the acquisition of Corbin Burns. I mean, they needed an ace and they got one. And I think some of their young players, say a guy like Jordan Westberg, a couple other players that you look at might even be able to get better. And, I think they're going to be the number one challenge to the Yankees.